Welcome to this explainer. It's pretty ironic. Today, modern society often treats physical intimacy like a complete taboo, or, at the very least, something we only talk about behind closed doors. But ancient texts, they openly celebrated it. Thousands of years ago, Hindu scriptures approached this exact subject with an incredible amount of structure, genuine scientific curiosity, and profound respect. So we're going to unpack these ancient rules and discover how what seems like a purely physical act was actually deeply integrated into health, psychology, and spiritual well-being. Let's jump right in.
It really kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why are we so hesitant to discuss something that the ancients literally wrote entire volumes on? Well, for them, intimacy wasn't just physical. It was a highly structured path to longevity, mental maturity, physical health, and building solid relationships. They fundamentally believed that when partners engage with deep love, rather than just fleeting lust, it actually strengthens the very foundation of a marriage. It was viewed as a vital, beautiful human experience that required study and understanding, not secrecy.
To give you some context, just look at the 4 pillars of life in Hindu philosophy. You've got Dharma for righteousness, Artha for prosperity, Moksha for liberation, and right there alongside them is Kama, or desire. If the ancient traditions were entirely opposed to intimacy, would they have made Kama a core life principle? Would they have carved those breathtaking, intricate sculptures on the Khajuraho temples? Definitely not. Desire was recognized as a powerful, completely natural force.
To make sense of these vast teachings, we've broken the ancient framework down into 5 key areas. We'll be covering the importance in scriptures, rules of health and hygiene, sex education and mutual consent, proper timing in prohibited places, and finally, conception and achieving progeny.
Let's start with Section 1, the importance in scriptures.
When you compare the modern view with the ancient view, the contrast is literally night and day. Today, a lot of dating culture is casual and pleasure-driven, but the ancient perspective, it demanded that true connection be rooted in deep affection and strictly bound by monogamy. It absolutely wasn't a recreational activity to be taken lightly. The scriptures actually warned against relations with badly behaved individuals or anyone outside of your marriage, asserting that breaking these rules of fidelity would inevitably invite conflict and regret. It was all about creating a disciplined, harmonious home.
Moving right along to Section 2, Rules of Health and Hygiene. This is where the spiritual strongly intersects with the biological. According to ancient Hindu physiology, the body is governed by 5 vital winds. Rule 1 focuses entirely on something called apana vayu. The texts state that purifying this specific internal wind and keeping the stomach clean prevents a host of diseases and directly safeguards reproductive health. Essentially, if your digestion is off or you're ignoring natural bodily urges, it directly impacts your stamina and reproductive capabilities. So rule number 1 is quite literally about maintaining optimal gut health.
Rules 5 and 9 dive into specific Ayurvedic hygiene protocols. Long before modern medicine discovered germ theory, Ayurveda laid out practical, non-negotiable hygiene steps as mandatory shields against infection. It was strictly forbidden to engage in intimacy with infections, wounds, or during a menstrual cycle. They also explicitly stated that doing so during pregnancy carries a high risk of the child being born with disabilities. And the mandate to thoroughly wash the body both before and immediately after, that just goes to show how deeply they valued physical cleanliness as a profound sign of respect for your partner.
That brings us to Section 3, Sex Education and Mutual Consent. We often stereotype the ancient world as strictly patriarchal and repressed, right? Well, Rule 2 completely shatters that. The renowned scholar Atreya Vatsyayana explicitly advised that women must learn about intimacy completely without shame from trusted female figures like an aunt or a married sister. He actually believed this knowledge was more crucial for women than for men to maintain marital stability. Encouraging young women to seek out this education completely free of embarrassment was incredibly progressive for the time.
And Rule 6 brilliantly builds on that by demanding mutual desire and emotional readiness. They laid down a hard, undeniable rule: if either partner lacks desire, is feeling gloomy, or if the household is in mourning, intimacy is strictly forbidden. Both partners absolutely must be positive and enthusiastic. This is literally enthusiastic consent and the prioritization of mental health validated thousands of years ago. It shows a staggering understanding that true connection requires emotional readiness.
Next up is Section 4, Proper Timing and Prohibited Places. For the ancients, human actions were deeply intertwined with the cosmos. Rule 4 dictates the specific time of night. The hours before midnight, known as the first prahar, were considered highly auspicious, supposedly resulting in highly disciplined and long-living children.
But post-midnight? That's a different story. The texts claim that's when demonic forces roam the earth, and engaging during this time would invite disease and literal demonic traits into the offspring.
Rules 3 and 7 meticulously map out restricted times and spaces. Highly auspicious days like new moons or specific fasting periods were strictly off limits, and physically, the act had to be confined to the absolute privacy of the home. No public spaces, no sacred temples, and definitely no cremation grounds or dispensaries. The belief was that violating these physical and temporal boundaries wouldn't just be disrespectful, but would actively bring severe domestic conflict and bad luck into the couple's life.
Finally, we reach Section 5, Conception and Achieving Progeny. All of these rules ultimately culminate in the goal of conceiving a virtuous child. Rule 10 outlines an intricate astrological system from the Kama Sutra. It maps out specific nights post-menstruation that dictate the outcome. After a 4-day prohibition, you see an alternating pattern: odd nights for daughters, even nights for sons. And the traits vary wildly depending on the exact day. The 14th night brings a strong, virtuous son. The 15th brings a daughter as prosperous as a goddess. And the 16th night? That was said to produce the ultimate, all-knowing son.
The number 16 is absolutely key here. 16 nights post-menstruation was considered the absolute maximum limit, after which pregnancy rarely occurs. This is brilliant because it essentially acted as an ancient, incredibly accurate understanding of a woman's fertile window. They just wrapped the biology up in astrological guidelines to help couples produce the healthiest possible members of society.
So what does this all mean for us today? Well, while the specific astrology might belong to the past, the underlying framework holds totally timeless value. Strip away the ancient terminology, and you're left with a profound respect for bodily hygiene, an absolute insistence on enthusiastic mutual consent, and a prioritization of mental health. It's a deep belief that intimacy is an act of sacred vulnerability. So I want to leave you with this thought. In an era where physical connection is so often reduced to a quick swipe on a screen, what would happen if we started treating our relationships with the exact same sacred intentionality and profound respect that the ancients demanded all those thousands of years ago?